I've spent the afternoon kind of shaking would be an understatement.
Yeah.
Seeing the opening to this new segment with the current occupant of the White House, who was also the president when my daughter was killed, angers me beyond measure because of what he failed to do back then. It angers me beyond measure because for the past 30 days, he has been systematically undoing everything good that we did during the Biden years, the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, all the measures to implement BISCA, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, bipartisan legislation, all the executive actions. He has been systematically undoing every single one of them. And so if anyone is surprised that he will do nothing after today, you shouldn't be.
There is always the, thoughts and comments of people after something like this happens. And, we don't know, Fred, how many people have, we're saying 6 or so injured. We don't know how, what kind of injuries they have sustained. But Fred, talk, as I've asked you when we were speaking after Uvalde, and as you and I have spoken after so many of these tragedies, I ask you to do something that only you and a handful of others, unfortunately, it's a lot of people, but only you can do, which is to speak to the families of, in this case, the one person that has lost their lives. We don't know who that is, but speak to that family. Speak to those people who right now have their children in lockdown or are just terrified of what they witnessed or what they heard. And so I ask you, as I've asked you, unfortunately, so many times, Fred, speak to them.
And I hope it's only the one, which is already one too many. I've been doing everything I can to stay in touch with people up there. I fear that number is going to change. I was having a conversation yesterday with Chris Brown of Brady. And we were actually talking about the show The Pit, and which I watched. And there was a mass shooting scene within the show. And I remember saying to Chris yesterday, I remember sitting in the hospital with my wife on February 14, 2018, hoping and praying my daughter was being put back together, hoping and praying she survived gun violence from an AR-15. And I wasn't that lucky. And so my message to all these families who are in the hospital right now with your loved ones who are being taken care of in these trauma settings, just know that every effort that is possible will be taken to help them heal. Everybody who matters to you is going to be by your side. Everyone who you need in your life, this is a moment where we lean on our helpers. They hold us up. They keep us steady. Reach out to them. Let them reach out to you. I just want to tell these families, I love you. I can't believe that we're doing this again. This is uniquely American. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not. If people want to fully understand why I get so angry when I talk about this, it's not because I'm anti-gun. It's because I hate gun violence, and we can do something about gun violence. We've got to stop allowing those who should not have access to weapons to have that easy access to weapons. Jose, you're here in Florida. You know as well as I do, rather than spending the past few months doing everything possible to take the additional steps to reduce gun violence, here in the Florida legislature, they've been taking steps to make gun violence more possible. They want to roll back the law that we passed after Parkland. They tried to roll back the age of 21 that we passed. There are others that want to roll back the red flag laws. It's the stupidest, most insane behavior, but that's what's currently happening in the Florida legislature in Tallahassee, where this shooting just happened. I hope and I pray, yes, I have thoughts and prayers that every Republican who has been behind the effort to do that stands up today and says, I was wrong, that I want to respect gun rights. Every Republican should say that, but they should also say, I respect life. And I want to do everything possible to protect those we love from being the victims of the next mass shooting.
Fred, what does your son tell you today?
We've had one conversation since the news, and it was about the need to just reach out to everybody we know.
Yeah.
And so I will be reaching out to him again after this interview. I know that's what he's been doing this afternoon. My son has been very private and very quiet over this. But this brings up memories for him, and this brings up trauma for him that I just, that I can't describe.
No.
You know?
Yeah. I got to tell you, man, Fred, you know, just the thought, and we began our conversation with this, that Jamie would have been graduating this year. You know, we're coming up on May in 5 minutes. And it's that graduation ceremony that you and your family aren't going to be able to have. It's the beginning of a new life of service, of making a difference, of continuing through dreams, hopes, and aspirations of good people that will not have the opportunity. And it just breaks my heart, man. And I just want to say thank you, Fred. I know how difficult this is in this time and in every time. And you were talking about healing. And I know that for all of you, healing is not truly possible. But the daily affirmations of hope, I thank you, Fred. I thank you, and just send my best to your family. And I appreciate always your willingness to come and speak with me and with us, even under the most difficult of circumstances. I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose.
I want to bring in Will Schatz. He is a senior at Florida State University. He was on campus when this shooting happened. Will, first of all, thanks for being with us. How are you doing?
I'm doing better now that I'm home and safe at my apartment, but I'm still pretty shaken up, and you can probably even see it with the camera. I'm still shaking a little bit, but I'm doing good now.
I know that you were in the Strozier Library, and then
yes.
You saw, along with your friends, people running. Tell me about those initial minutes.
I really didn't take anything in until I saw people running, and then it was just a moment of not even thinking about what's happening, but just the fact that people were running. I run with them. We go out the side exit of the library. I'm outside, and then a few moments later, I hear like 7 to 8 gunshots, and I make some more distance away from the building, and I just stick around until I really know what I can do at that point.
Did you have any indication? Were there police around telling anyone what to do? Or at that point, was it so early that, frankly, it was just, I don't want to say every man or woman for themselves, but you were just having to let instinct or training or whatever kick in?
Yeah, I mean, what you said there pretty much sums it up what it was at that point. It was like every man for himself. By the time I saw the cops pulling up, I really don't even think they had time to like address the people outside of that area. Most of them just rushed and went straight in that direction, whether it was to the student union or the library. I'm not too sure.
Your friends who you were with, you were in the library, I understand, with some friends. Did you all stick together, or did you just each take off and go wherever you could get to? What was the situation in those minutes?
Yes, so yeah, we were all there working on a presentation for our class today, and yeah, we did lose each other when we ran out. We just kind of got lost in the chaos, and everybody was running every which direction. But I was able to text them and make sure they were all okay, and yeah, so we were able to get in contact, but I did lose them when we ran out.
Were you getting alerts on your phone? At what point, or did you get the alert that said to shelter in place? And what did you do at that moment?
Yes, so I did get that alert about maybe 4 to 5 minutes after I was already out of the building. And at that point, I was out in the open. I got some distance away, but there was a ton of law enforcement around me. So at that point, I did feel relatively safe enough to just kind of stand there and wait to see what was going to happen.
Yeah, did it give you some sense of safety just to see how quick and how extensive
Yes.
the response was?
Definitely did, 100%. And there were so many law enforcement personnel like there on the scene within an instant. So I did feel safe.
Will, did you get, as we talked to another previous student who talked about having gone through active shooter drills in high school, did you have that kind of experience? Did you know what you should do?
Yes, I did.
To respond to the lawyers.
Mr. President, we're learning that there are now 2 deceased following that shooting at Florida State University. Following and amid that, is there any changes that you want to see to gun legislation? Anything you see broken with gun laws in our
Well,
country?
I'm going to have to look. I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it, and these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now. I just hear about it. I know the area very well. I know the school very well. I know everything about it. It's Florida. And we'll have more to say about it later. I have
What
to
do
see
you
what
mean when
happens.
you say there will be more to say about it?
Only in terms of what happened. As far as legislation is concerned, this has been going on for a long time. I have an obligation to protect the Second Amendment. I ran on the Second Amendment, among many other things, and I will always protect the Second Amendment.
Mr. President, question about the United Kingdom.
That Donald helped cause events like this. His rhetoric and the rhetoric of Republicans have fueled violence. But as we see there, we have parents who have been affected by such tragedies say that, like, the Republican response has been to, at the very least, tolerate these events, if not recognize them as essential to American life. In a sick way, celebrating them. Because as you see Trump there saying, I have my responsibilities to protect the Second Amendment, not American citizens. Fully ignoring that the Second Amendment can be protected and indeed be celebrated while still passing common sense reforms that make events like this, if not impossible, then less likely. Because as we know, you compare the United States to any other peer country, any other developed country in Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, similar countries, they have a much higher level of violence. Even when, you can control for poverty and things like that, it's still more violent. And so this is the world Donald Trump created. We remember Texas a couple years ago. We remember this down in Uvalde. That awful event happened. One of the worst things that happened in the last 10, 15 years in the United States. And there's a lot of bad things that have happened. What did Trump do just a couple days later? He didn't fight for better reforms. He went to the NRA and basically worshiped the cult of guns. And so Donald, in my view, is directly responsible for these sorts of things.